first thing I would like to do is to orient you to what you have in front of you. The first thing you have is the schedule, so that you will know in hard copy, you will know what school will be presenting next after you see a particular school. So that's your first item. Then you have a single page copy of last year's test scores for our elementary schools, middle schools, and high schools, so that you could be able to look at that as they talk about this year's scores. And then the large document that you have is a copy of each school's presentation that they will bring to you tonight. Yours is in color, mine and Mr. Brown's are in black and white because we were conserving there. So unless you have further questions, I would like for you to remember that on a hard copy in front of you, you have a district and 2015 and 2016. It's a black and white copy. And you have a 2015 line on the left hand and a 2016 line on the right hand. And at the bottom, you see my handwriting where it says accountability, and there's a strike through that. So that's what I want you to know that is gone. You will never see that again. The accountability tab has been taken off the school report card. So that information there, that's the last time that you will see this, because we're moving into a completely new system from this point on. At our next meeting, we will go into that. All of the scores that you will see tonight, including those on the single hard copies, are assessment scores only. So it's not an accountability score, it's an assessment score. The scores from the district that you received earlier this week from Mr. Brown, they have only the proficient and distinguished students together. That's the score that you have, because that's where we need to be. We only put the proficient and distinguished scores combined on those. So from this point on, we will only look at assessment scores, and that's the only tab that you will see on the school report card. So the schools are going to present their information to you as they wanted to. I don't want to tell them how to do that. We gave them a frame. They looked at what happened last year when they presented, or their predecessor presented. They're going to tell you the scores in each content area, and then they're going to tell you the why they did well, why maybe they didn't do so well, or any other information that they wish to share. And then they're on to the next steps, or how are they going to achieve proficiency with all students in their building. Some schools have chosen to use the apprentice score with their data. So if you see something that I gave you and there is a point or two difference in that particular thing, that school chose to use apprentice. I only gave you proficient and distinguished. So that would be the discrepancy if you see anything like that. Other than that, next month we will dive into the new accountability system, and the district will share our data with you as well as our preschool and the academy at Horizons, because we're all district programs. So we will present together at December meeting. So do you have any further questions until we start with our schools?
I would just like to remind the board and everybody else is that this is a different system than what you've been used to in the past. And it's very, I don't want to say not impossible, but almost very difficult to compare last year's scores with the information that you're getting this year, because it's not the same test, it's not the same type of data, and so you have to be very careful in doing that. Remember, this is last year and this year are baseline scores and on the new system, and so we don't want to compare. It's not apples and apples, it's apples and oranges, so just remember that. Now, there is some similarities, and I'm sure when the principals do their report to you all, they will point out some of the similarities and some things that they feel good about and some areas they want to do. And also remember that we have new principals in most of our buildings have new principals, and just remember where they were last year and where we are this year. So with that, Ms. Brown, future principal voice.
Okay, we'll go ahead and get started. Before I get into the data, I did want to thank you all one more time for approving for us to name the field, Bill Broadus Field, and invite you tomorrow night. We're going to have a reception for him at the high school. Anytime between 4 and 6, he'll be there. So it was kind of funny. I told him before we walk out onto the field, I said, I want us to walk out behind the seniors, and he said, why are we doing that? We've never done that before. And I said, well, we're going to start a new tradition. They need to know that we support them. He said, I really like that, man. Okay. So we get out there, and they're announcing everybody, and he said, are they going to say something about us? And I said, they will. And so we kept walking. He said, they're not saying anything about us. And I said, Broadus, be patient. So we get out there, and they said, something about also honoring Bill Broadus, and he's looking down, and he went, what did you do, ma'am? So the whole time they were, saying his accolades, that wasn't me. And finally he said, thank you very much. And tears rolled down his eyes. So he was very, very appreciative, very excited, and very honored, and has told me every day since how honored he is. So thank you all once again for allowing that to happen.
Thank you for coming out with her.
Appreciate Mr. Brooks and Casey also making sure that nothing
Yes, thank
leaked
you very
out
much.
from that meeting where it was approved, so.
He was,
I
very
think they
surprised.
enjoy being part of anything to get over something on Bill is pretty good.
he did not know his family was there. He walked off the field, and all of his family stood there and he said, what are y'all doing here? He was very excited. So I told him to make sure he canceled his plans for tomorrow, or whoever he was going with, bring them with him, because we have a reception. He told me that was a little over the top, but that's okay. He deserves it. So.
Good.
We'll move on with our data for last school year. If you take a look, Nelson County High School improved in the graduation rate, in CCR, in growth. We did not have growth for this past year, for the previous year. And then in achievement. Major concerns in our gap area, we only had 4% of our non-duplicated gap group who scored in the proficient category. We had 192 students who were accountable for gap, and 82 of those scored novice. So you'll see as we go through that is definitely a focus area for us. I have in red here for the 2016-2017 school year, the 73.1 proficient status. As you know, we are not getting that information from the state, but as I plug that information into the calculator, all of our data into the calculator, that's what it came up to be, was a 73.1. So it was a drop from the previous school year. If we were still getting those labels, we still would have scored proficient, although there are several areas that we need to work on. And as you can see, from 2012 until 2016-17, there was a significant jump. From there, I go into our exam comparisons, starting with the percentages of proficient and distinguished. In every one of these categories, except for U.S. history and writing, our numbers of proficient and distinguished students went down. And so that is definitely a concern that we are addressing this school year. In U.S. history, we went up a little bit, and in writing, we went up quite a bit for proficient and distinguished percentages. And then the next slide kind of looks the same, but it changes from percentages of proficient and distinguished to the percentages of novice. Novice reduction is one of our main focuses this year. As you can see, we had across the board, our novice numbers are way too high. Especially in writing, although we went up with the number of proficient and distinguished, our novice reduction, we went from 9.1 novice percent to 22.6% in writing. And so writing has become a major focus for us.
So does that mean the kids kind of went this direction, they
Yes.
gravitated to one stream or the other?
Yes, sir. Also in biology, you can see we went from 16.3% in novice to a 29.9%. So that is a significant as well. we did have some celebrations. We celebrated our achievement scores, which went up, our CCR scores. So if you notice at the bottom of every slide, I have our mission statement, which is our mission at Nelson County is to develop productive and responsible citizens who graduate prepared for college and or career. We put that on every communication that goes out to our parents, anything that goes out to our students, any meeting slides that we have. We want our students and our teachers to be able to read that and to know it and to live it. And so our CCR numbers went up. I hope that they will increase again this year as students are truly living out what that means. Our graduation rate also increased. As I alluded to earlier, our number of proficient distinguished in U.S. history and writing increased, so that was also a celebration. Our three main concerns and focus areas for this year, because we have several, so we want to know that it's going to be work in progress and it's going to take time, but the three biggest ones for us this year is our GAP population, which for us is free and reduced lunch, and our SPED population. And as I said, we had 192 students who were accountable in those areas, and 82 of them scored novice. That's massive. So we are going to be addressing that. I was actually at as we get further down, the novice reduction training, which is one of our other ones. I went there today, that is presented by KDE, and it's a very good training and lots of good things going on with that. And then writing is definitely a concern. As you'll see whenever I move through the slide, last year our teachers created a writing plan, a school-wide writing plan. It was approved by site-based, and that's where it stopped. So this year we are in the implementation process of that, and I do believe having a school-wide focus on that, we're going to see major gains in that area as well. Here are some of the things that we are doing to improve these numbers. And across the school, we had three main focuses when school started. I told our staff I want to improve communication, consistency, and culture. And whenever we have those three C's and we improve on those, we're going to see improvements across the board. So with our communication, that is with me to the staff, me to the students, me to the parents, and staff to students, students to students, all the way around. So I have up here just a few of the communication tools that we use to communicate with staff. We have a school-wide Cardinal calendar. Everybody has access to that, and they utilize it every single day. What you don't see on that slide is at the bottom, we have links to several things that the teachers access. It has a link to who do I go to if I need help. There is a link if there are students who are out for the day on a field trip. It has a link to password reset, things in our media center. So lots of things in that one calendar, and everything goes on there, that is going on in the school. The next one that you see is from the principal's pen. I do a weekly newsletter with our staff, and I send that out, and that includes kudos on there. We celebrate birthdays, anything that is upcoming, they know about in there. We also talk about instructional strategies. Sometimes there are videos included. We take pictures in the classrooms of teachers who are doing good things and post those on there as well. And then the last one here is a snapshot of our Google Classroom. I've created a Google Classroom for our teachers, and so everything that we're doing is on there for them. They can access it. It's kind of like a one-stop shop for our teachers so that they're not constantly searching and trying to find things. So there are instructional resources listed there. Anything that we're doing in ELCs is listed there. The Cardinal calendar, all of my newsletters and things like that. Technology resources are all there. For students, we of course do the morning announcements. We have a principals panel this year to allow them to talk with us about their concerns, about things that they want to change. Currently what they are doing is they have all selected something that they want to improve at Nelson County High School, and they are working through the process of how do I make this better. And so you may be hearing from some of them because some of them are wanting to come talk to you all as well. So they're working through that process as part of a PBL. And so that is something that we have done to communicate with them as well and allow them to communicate with us. With parents, we also have a weekly newsletter that goes out on Facebook. I will get emails from parents about that. I was stopped in Walmart last week and was asked about different things that were on there. So we celebrate students on there. We put our news on there. We communicate things that are coming up. And with that, we have found that our parents are becoming more involved and they're wanting to know more about things that are going on. They want to know about their students' grades. They're wanting to know how they're doing on the CERT test, which we just finished. So they have, I think it has opened up those lines of communication to where they feel more comfortable to contact us and ask those questions. So that has been very beneficial. We've also started a monthly roundtable discussion with parents about different topics. Some of those have been what can we do to improve here at Nelson County High School. Some of those have been about bullying. As we move forward, they will be about how can I help my child learn in the classroom. So lots of different things going on with that as well in the communication area. Consistency is the next C. The first picture that you see there is a snapshot of our cardinal expectations. At the beginning of the year, we sat down as an entire staff and created our cardinal expectations together. And then on the first day of school, we went over those with all of the students that were sent home to the parents. We also went over those the entire first week of school. We continue to review those frequently with the students. I review those in my morning announcements to the students often, and they're included in my Cardinal Connection newsletter to parents so that we're all on the same page, because we know if the behavior is not under control, they can't learn in the classroom. So we have implemented those, and that has helped tremendously. We are also being consistent in our graduate profile. That is what our PLC is focused on this school year. We sat down and decided what we wanted out of our students when they graduate from Nelson County High School. What would a learner look like? And these inside his face are what we came up with. And most of them are 21st century skills. And so what we do with that is teachers go into other teachers' classrooms to observe. At first, they took a survey based on what they felt like their strengths and areas of growth were with these skills. And then based on that, we matched them up with a colleague who felt like they had a strength in the area where they needed growth. And they went and observed. And the focus of the observation was not what is the teacher doing, but what are the students doing. And so after they observed, we came back and had a debrief session, and now they are implementing those skills into their lessons in performance-based assessments. So as they present their performance-based assessment in the PLCs, and we give feedback. We have a critical friends tuning protocol to where they go through and say what is really good about the assessment and what needs to improve before the students ever see it. There are several eyes looking at it. Once they give the assessment, they come back and then we review the data. How did the students do? If they did well, what went well? If they didn't do so well, how can we help them to reach these goals? So we're looking at not only mastery of the content, but also how can we produce responsible and productive citizens. So that is consistent across the board as well. And then the third picture that you see here is a snapshot of our meal paragraph rubric. That is part of our writing plan. And so in every classroom, every teacher has a poster of the meal paragraph, which looks at the main idea, examples, analysis, and then a linking statement. And so we are using that common language across every classroom, whether it be in a classroom with a science, they're writing a science lab, or they are doing a political analysis of a cartoon in social studies. They are all using the same process so that it is consistent. The students are hearing it in every room. I was in a social studies room yesterday and they were going through this, and the student said, I already know about this, you don't have to tell me. We're doing it in science, we're doing it in English. So we are getting that consistency, and once we do that, we will see, again, gains. And then a big focus for us has been on our culture and creating and fostering a positive culture. And as you know, that can't happen overnight, but I'm very pleased with what we're doing so far. We are celebrating student success constantly. One of the things that we did this year as a change was when the AP scores came out, we acted like fools. We busted through their classroom doors with our cardinal, with big checks. We did the cards chant and we celebrated them. They were a little embarrassed at first because they didn't know what to expect, but they really, I think, appreciated it. We had a reception for them and their parents. We are constantly posting their successes on Facebook and Twitter, and we are every week getting more and more likes and comments regarding that. For the first time ever, we had the National Honor Society induction during the day, and we had every student in the school who attended that. And after that was over, it was so neat to stand in the hallway and hear the students say, well, what do I have to do that? Well, I'm going to do that next year. You're going to see me up there. And that was really worth it to hear those conversations happening. This next picture, you can see they're out in the hallway, and that was our first Cardinal Walk of the year. We do Cardinal Walks at different points throughout the year for different purposes. This one was to celebrate our boys soccer team who was headed to regions. And so we do that for academics and sports related, and so they were helping to improve that culture. We're also working currently on a principal's breakfast that has been done in the past. We'll continue to do that. It's very well received by the community, and that is for our all age students. And so we'll invite their families in, again, trying to pull those families in and help with that communication. With the students, we're sending birthday cards home. We have a new student orientation. Anytime a new student enrolls with us, their first day at Nelson County High School is not right into the classroom. They go through an orientation. And this orientation that they go through our student handbook with an adult in the building. They go through all of our cardinal expectations. They meet with the senior ambassador and get a tour of the school, and that senior ambassador answers any questions that they have. They meet with the guidance counselor to go over clubs that we offer to try to get them involved. They also look at our pathways so that they can try to see which direction they want to go with that, and they get their schedule. And once we've acclimated them to what our culture is, this is how we act as Nelson County High School Cardinals, then they go into the classroom. And we've gotten a lot of positive feedback from our new students on that. They have a senior who they can, go to and have already made connections with. They have a guidance counselor, an assistant principal they've already talked to. They also have another adult in the building, a mentor. And so that has given us great feedback on that as well. We're also celebrating with our faculty and staff, and we have monthly dinners that we do with them, and they really enjoy that. We do shout-out forums every meeting that we have, whether it be a PLC, faculty, just any kind of get-together. We start out with celebrations and celebrate one another at every meeting. And then with our parents, we have tried to improve the culture as well. Personal invitations to things happening at Nelson County High School. We send home letters for students who are CCR, students of the month, seniors, whenever they had their senior night, we also sent letters home celebrating them. So trying to improve all of that. And with that, and these things that you see here, we do believe that we'll see a big jump in our numbers for next year. We have more technology that's being utilized in the classrooms. We were able to get 5 more Chrome cards this year, and they are utilized every single day. All 12 Chrome cards are checked out, and they're being used. Teachers and students both are becoming more familiar and more comfortable with using technology, and they're doing so. School-wide focus on achievement and success. I've gone over some of that with you. Our ESS daytime waiver is focusing on our novice reduction students. More teachers have been trained in laying the foundations. That is part of our Advanced Kentucky AP grant, so they are becoming more familiar with that and implementing that in the classroom. Cardinal coaching is whenever we do walkthroughs with our teachers, our feedback is on a Cardinal coaching document. And I have to give kudos to Wes for this one. We copied from him with that. And we talked about that this summer, and it was a great idea, and I wanted to implement it at Nelson County as well. So we go into the classrooms, and it's a constant conversation. It's not, okay, here's your feedback, and the conversation stops. They are able to reflect on their practices with us, and then we reflect back with them, and it's a continuous process. And then the school-wide writing plan implementation that we talked about, we are being consistent in our initiative of that and the processes, and we're already seeing dividends from that. Any questions?
No, but I'm very pleased. You know how often I come to visit. I am proud as I can be that progress is being made out there. It really is, it's great to see. It's bothered me a lot. You know it has, because we've talked at great lengths. And I'm just proud as I can be. You're making strides. You've got the discipline alone is, to me, is worth everything she's doing. Because I was at that meeting just by accident. The incidence has dropped so much, so dramatically, because you mean what you say, and you say what you mean, and those kids know it now. I think they know it. I think they've got a grasp of what is expected as far as behavior goes. And I'm very, very appreciative of that, and I thank you very much, because I can see a difference in just walking down the hallway when the bell rings. I can tell it's a lot quieter, and it's, I don't hear language, you know, I don't hear it, and it's great. And we'll get the other part, you'll get the other part.
We will. As I said, it is a work in progress, but some of those other things had to be done first.
Yes,
And we can now focus on what we need to focus on.
great job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Jury.
Ms. Greenby, before we go on to the next thing, I just want to ask, the administrators that are still left, take a look around at the other administrators in this room if you would. Just take a moment and look at who all else you've got on your team. I think possibly this is one of the strongest building level administrative teams in the 9 years that I've been on the board that we've had.
Damon, I'll say, I've been doing this for 43 years, and we have as good, and especially as good a young bunch of building level administrators in this county. And, with all the changes and turmoil you came up and you got to this point with these people, I think is a testament of this district's resiliency and for these people, and I congratulate them.
You look, and again, you look around the room and you see some folks that maybe were a peer administrator the year before, or maybe were a classroom or an instructional coach, educator before, and now you're sitting as that administrator in the building. The resources that are among this team, the ability to rely upon each other, and I've always thought the hardest thing for any human, forget it being a teacher, any human to do is to say, I don't really know, can you help me? And especially as educators, because we're supposed to know the answers, right? And because the kids always go, well, Mr. Bradley, what's the answer? And whenever they were in your classroom. But, now we've got these administrators sitting in this room that are willing to look at each other and go, I don't really know what the answer is, can you help me? And it's very refreshing to see that. And also, while everybody doing a great job, I have to point out to you, Ms. Drury and Ms. Hanloser, both of you all walked into a hornet's nest. I'll just put it simply like that. And the culture change just in the 3.5 months, 4 months of instruction, plus the time that you all spent, before classes start. That's tremendous. And while maybe the test scores aren't where, the assessment scores aren't where you want them, those are going to come. It's going to come for New Haven as well. It's going to come for any of the schools that you just don't, Mr. Morrison, it's going to come for Bloomfield. I know you're not happy either. But there were challenges that, you walked into and that you grabbed hold of as well. So it's very heartening to see such a strong, like you said, one of the strongest group of administrative team across the district. And I get to see a lot of districts in central Kentucky, and I think we've got one of the best ones.
And I hope all of you all, because as a board member, and I know all of us can say this, each presentation there was something that stood out. And and I know you all collaborate together, and I'm glad you all see that other schools, what you found important on one school, you're taking it to your school. Or you're seeing, or at least this group, to me, you all don't mind sharing. We've had some that really didn't like to share. And this group is different because you all don't mind to share. Just like Tanya, I heard you say Wes helped you, and other elementaries, you help each other, and that's the way it should be. This thinking that you're the only one in the whole you're not by yourself, because we have 3 or 4 schools that need help. I mean, are just now getting back on their feet. And if you can go from there and say, I do need help, then that's to me, that's 2/3 of the battle, is to get the help. And because we're only helping the kids. I don't care, I care about you all, don't get me wrong. But the kids is what counts here. It's not us, it's you all and the kids, and those kids deserve it. We deserve to give Nelson County students the best education we can give them. And being funds are going to be restricted, I know that, you know that from just listening to our governor. And, we just have to pull it, we have to make it work, we have to pull it together and make it work. And I do appreciate all you all help, believe me, I appreciate it.
We're
And I
going to
thank
see
you.
some positive changes. Go visit New Haven to see what they're,
Oh, I
there's so
have.
much love in that building. Go visit Foster Heights, Oak Kentucky Home, every one of you. There's so much love, and they love their students. They don't feel nothing
Yeah.
but pure love.
I know it when I walk in
It's
the
great to see
buildings.
those buildings now thriving
Yes.
and positive energy and kids learning. I love to see that. People are respectful and
Yes.
love that. So thank you all.
Just keep up the good work.
And we also need to thank Ms. Williams and Ms. Brown for their
Yes.
leadership in this process also. So
Thank
we've
you,
kind of
thank
all
you.
been together.
There's a quiet force behind the scenes. aren't there?
Yes.
Sometimes, what was that, sometimes quietness happens.
If it's a UK ball game day, it's not.
That's right.